I am invincible.
Okay, Boris. Here she is, everybody. Your 2020-2021 eighth season of the Vinnie Pie Quest League fantasy football champion, as much as it pains me to say it.
That's me. I'm the champion. You were once the champion. A bunch, 7 other people were champions, but now I am the 8th.
And
champion.
we will see what happens next year.
And insured, no repeats.
Yeah, insured, no repeats. It's coming back here. It's coming to me.
Brandon thinks he's really great, but it turns out he's just average.
We will see who is really great and who is just average in the coming weeks. And we will see a little bit of that today. But before we do that, we have a large box right here.
It's in my seat.
And it's in Amanda's seat, so we got to open it so that she can sit down. So here we go. I'll take those.
Oh, another box!
There's a box in the box.
I need the scissors.
You're gonna pull the other box out?
Well, there's no.
Okay, here's a box for the box.
Box in the box.
There's a box in our box. That's such a weird way to use the scissors.
Now I gotta get the sides. Here, you get this side.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. We'll see. If we start bleeding out, everybody, we'll know why.
Well, Brandon, the reason that we are spending so much pitiful time opening these boxes is Brandon thought it would be a good idea to open it in front of you guys, which is turning out to have really low value in terms of...
Who puts a box in a box? You get the other side. Also, you should just take this box out. It's hard to cut it in the box.
Well, there's another piece.
You set this on the floor then.
Really low production value right here. Oh wait, I have to get this side.
Oh my god.
I already did the front. You're right. I forgot. There we go. The box in the box really had me stumped.
Give me these.
All right, the official unveiling.
Here it is, everybody. The Fantasy Football Quest League for Vinnie Pie has its official trophy. It has come in. There's the top of it. The bottom of it is in some other thing. So we have an official trophy now.
How do you mount it?
We'll figure that out. Ta-da! And if that wasn't enough, we have everybody's favorite. We have placards, people. We have placards. We've got the Vinnie Pie Quest League Fantasy Football Champion Trophy now. We have many, many past champions, because that's how this league rolls, apparently. To recount them, we have Uncle Chris in 2013. We've got Brian 2014. We've got Nick 2015. Asterisks should have been placed there. I don't know how that didn't happen in production. We've got 2016 of Jenna. We have the 2017 Uncle Steve and Aunt Teresa. We've got the 2018, the greatest one, Brandon. 2019, Uncle Rob. And 2020 is Amanda.
You know what? This was a really bright spot of my 2020 year.
We also have this one here. I don't know how this came in, but it looks like the company we got this from is able to predict the future. It says, I don't know if you'll be able to read this. It says never. Anthony Filippo. How did they know? How did they know? So yeah, we've got placards now, people.
There's some funnier ones. There's 2036.
Oh, there's some other ones there. We'll have to get those into the future. They did some other predictions, but yeah, they got the one for Anthony. Spot on.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, the pin. Okay, cool. Put that over there. We'll grab it later. So yeah, we've got a trophy, people. We've got a trophy. And I guess we'll pass around this trophy. Take it out and just set it there. I'll take care of it later. So we got a trophy now. It'll travel around to Whoever wins it each year with the placards, and we'll be able to add more of them as the years go on.
I have a recommendation. I would like to propose that the loser of the league, who will have to decide regular season or playoff, pays for the shipping cost of said trophy to the winner.
Ooh, shipping costs. Shipping costs.
Well, Brandon wanted to buy a big one, and I was like, Brandon, the shipping costs.
It's a nice one. Okay. So I almost got like a 6-foot trophy. That would have been ridiculous, but we got a smaller one. Anyways, so now that the league is officially over and Amanda is this year's champion, I kind of teased this a few weeks back that I wanted to do a deep dive into a lot of the data.
Yeah, do you guys remember when during our regular season fantasy football, I would try to spend like 15 minutes compiling like a nice what would happen, like what are the odds, and Brandon would lose it. It was like too much time, too much evaluation.
It's like, Amanda, like we just tell the people what they want. I went super off the rails here. Over the summer, I did a little bit of data studio stuff, and I decided what would happen if we took a look at the entire history of our fantasy football league for the family, and we actually figured out once and for all who is actually the best fantasy football player, because we've got 8 different champions in 2 different formats of the league, and the league has expanded from 8 people to 12 people, and we've lost people, we've brought new people in. So who is just the definitive all-time champion as the league sits right now?
Spoiler, Brandon, I keep asking him on the regular, hey Brandon, am I the best player? And he's like, Amanda, I haven't done the win-losses yet. So we don't even know who the best player is yet.
Okay, so over the summer, I was doing some stuff in R Studio. It's a databasing language. Well, it's not really a databasing language, it's a statistics language. And I basically fed in every single game that has been played by our family. So I set up this huge Excel sheet that I fed in.
He had entered this. It took him, how long did it take?
It took me forever because every single category here was hand entered. There's a little bit of automation behind the scenes.
So he's saying that there's probably some user error in here.
There's 0 user error. Perfect. It's perfect entries. So basically what we have is we've got our teams here. We've got the year of the play. So this is 2013, our first year. The week, the score, and your opponent. And we'll do some nemesis matchups later on. And basically it's, Gregory plays me. He scores 89. I scored 87. And Gregory won. I'm the next line. I lost. He had +2. I had -2. We were in a standard scoring league, and it was a regular season game. And it was not a championship game at all. Okay. Some of these are highlighted in here. This is Uncle Chris in that first week of the first season of all time, because he put up a all-time high score with Peyton Manning that week, if we all remember, in the standard league. But I basically entered in every game ever in Excel. There's like 1,300 lines or something insane like that. I put in bye weeks. I put in the ties. I put in all these decimals because we switched to a decimal scoring setup at some point. We have PPR. Like it's all there. Okay. And then I sent it into R Studio and I processed it. And now we've got a bunch of plots to look at to start teasing out some of the data. And the first plot that it has like very little use to it is...
I hate looking at it and I kind of complain about it. Every time I see it, I'm like, why are we going to show this one?
I think it looks really cool.
Important purpose.
So
not that you can see any colors or who means
there's
what.
There's many colors on this. So this is actually every single game that has been played in our league over the 8 seasons. And technically some of the games are counted twice because like if I played Amanda, both my dot and her dot is on the screen. But it gives you an idea of how every player has scored every single week throughout the entire 8 weeks or 8 years we've been running this league. And while it is hard to see like exactly what is going on, there are a few kind of interesting things to notice in the league. And if we look at the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish years, and you actually noticed this. In our first year, if you look at the spread of scoring, we kind of start, like Chris has that high score up here at 159, and Brian that year also
21.
put up a all-time low score. Brian, all-time low score of 21. It's as sad as it gets, people. But there's a huge spread here in the first season. And then in the second season, and third and fourth and fifth,
it keeps tightening.
We definitely like squeeze the scores together, which could mean a few things.
It could mean that we're figuring out the formats We understand kind of how to draft in a way that doesn't have anyone be largely better than the others. Unlike the first year where Uncle Chris, his draft was insane in comparison to the rest of us. And so it's important to note that we've been kind of honing our skills and maybe getting closer, better at waiver picks or something along those lines. But
it could also mean that as we went on into season 3, 4, 5, we just added more people in the league. It just got harder to score. You couldn't really put up Uncle Chris's giant numbers from before. I mean, you could still put up Brian's super low numbers because look at all these people who are trying to run for the money. But we just had more people in the league, so it might have tightened that way. But more people, like, at least makes the league more competitive here, which is a nice thing. 2018 is kind of a weird year. Scores kind of tightened and went down for the first 5 years of the league. The year that I won, somehow scores expanded again. And, you know, we had this, like, uptick. Maybe the actual NFL league just kind of got better in terms of quarterbacking or in terms of point scoring. But it's kind of a weird one there. But it's also interesting to note that in 2019 and 2020, the past 2 years, we switched to a PPR format and all the scores got higher. We have some just crazy scores that are going on now. The all-time high score is actually way up here. You know, you thought it was this one? No. The all-time high score is up here.
And, drum roll. Jenna.
Goes to Jenna. Of course it does. You know, you're looking here and you're like, oh, that's Brandon. Brandon's got a nice high score.
You only think you're the best.
I put up 196.
You think you're the best, and you're just not.
Jenna put up like 209 one season. It was in 2019. She put up a crazy number there during a regular season matchup. It just totally blew her opponent out of the water. But in PPR, we're scoring more. And it makes sense because we've got the PPR format. You're getting points per reception. And it really just goes to show that, hey, look, we used to say, like, if you've got over 100 points, you're pretty much good in order to win a week.
Not true.
Now, you better be scoring, like, at least 130 points to kind of hit this, like, midline here. Like, if you're not putting up 130 a week, you might be in the bottom. So that's just something to keep in mind. Point spreads have gone up by about 30 over all the years, which is kind of wild. That's just one of the first things that we noticed. Then what I decided to do is I wanted to break down what was the difference in standard versus PPR scoring, because we do see a large difference here. So I took all the standard data and I did points per game. So depending on, you know, how long you're in the season, you might have more games, maybe a little bit more robust data set versus someone like Julie and Annie who don't even belong in this data, or even my mom, Aunt Linda, who was only in the league for like 1 or 2 years
and did not leave a mark except for in the bad
it
category.
Shows right here just how great she did.
Also showing off Uncle Chris.
Yeah, so what we did is this is actually set up so it's points per game, and this is your regular season and standard up here. But down below in the second graph, it's just your regular season games. So we see that Uncle Chris, Gregory, Amanda, like during the regular season and
this is
overall,
for standard, no PPR included.
Yeah, so this was
not the last 2 years.
This was the first 6 years. They crush, okay? Chris, Gregory, and Amanda, they are dominant.
Hey, Brandon, look how much, you're a little bit lower.
I'm a little bit lower.
And then, Brandon, what is USAT?
USAT? Oh, USAT. Okay. This is Uncle Steve and Aunt Teresa. I had a hard time typing that over and over, so I just went, USAT. And that's what it is. So if you're looking at that, that's Uncle Steve and Aunt Teresa. But an interesting thing is that this last plot at the bottom, which we might have to zoom out a little bit for the viewers to see. The last plot at the bottom is actually just the playoffs. It's just playoff numbers. And this is so important because when you look at some certain teams, some teams have great regular season and then they fall off in the playoff like no tomorrow. A perfect example is Amanda.
Nuh-uh, look, I'm third.
Oh, maybe.
I'm fine.
We'll take a look at that later on.
In the PPR league.
She falls off. She falls off hard here. But we do see that Jenna was actually like average in the regular season, you know, but in playoffs, Jenna was dominant. Due to some of her large runs, her championship year had a great playoff run.
Just overall understanding of football that we don't have.
Yeah, that too. Uncle Steve and Aunt Teresa also had a good playoff run to get a championship one year. You'll see that they were down here, and then they kind of finish up here.
Let's talk about the bottom.
Oh, the bottom. The bottom. Okay, so there's some teams in this league that when you go up against them,
You're gonna win. You might win.
You're not worried about it.
Mm-mm.
You're just not. One was my mom.
She's no longer part of the easy situation. She's gone.
She's out. She's out. But in our first 6 years, if you look at these two people, Nick and Anthony, oh my goodness, they're bad.
And not to mention, Nick did win in the standard league.
Nick won in the
this.
standard league. Do not forget, people, that right here in 2015, it says Nicholas Botzer. This kid should not ever have won. Because of that win in 2015, we actually switched the format of our league from 2 divisions to everybody plays everybody. And the data backs it up. Like, Nick stinks.
We literally made a rule change based upon Nick's unbelievable win.
Yes, Nick snuck into playoffs and won it all.
For those of you that weren't in the league at that time, we had the East versus West conference, and we were so mad because the one conference was so much better. Someone that from the good conference didn't make the playoffs because of a terrible setup, and we were like, never again.
Yeah.
Also, I know that we talk about Uncle Rob as being hilarious and his Ben Roethlisberger continual pick. He is like straight up middle of the road. We talk about him like it's an easy win. It is not.
In the standard league.
Okay.
But yeah, Uncle Rob's like standard in the road. He held his own for a lot of years. But Nick and Anthony had one flashing moment that we talked about a few weeks ago. He got a 3rd place finish the first year. But other than that, standard league, Nick and Anthony, thank goodness we're not in the standard league anymore. You guys stunk there. Okay.
Also, Brian's pretty low and also won.
There's some lowlifes here that have somehow snuck out wins in this league. Yeah, look at this. You're right. Brian, his regular season and his playoffs are well below average. But remember, you just need one good run. You need one season to take it to the house. And Brian could have had one great season, and then the rest of his years were just trash.
I kind of feel bad for him is Gregory. Look at him. He drops off so hard in the playoffs. He was so good in those first 6 years.
Look at this. Gregory's so good in the regular season. And
Gregory, I feel for you. I felt this way until this year when I finally
falls
won.
off. You can actually see I did a side-by-side plot of each of these managers here.
Why don't you show it to us?
How much they fall off or gain in the playoffs. So here's everybody alphabetically.
Wait, you skipped one.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
This is Amanda to William down here. You notice that Annie and Julie, they don't exist.
You said I dropped off in the playoffs. Look at that consistency.
You're right. Amanda's pretty consistent here. You see that Chris is actually a champion in playoffs. Playoffs are in red. The regular season's in green.
Jenna
and
also
the
a
average
champion.
Is blue. Jenna, she's so dangerous in a standard league in the playoffs. But you see some other people do have a bit of a fall off.
Like Gregory. Look at that.
Gregory's fall off is huge. His regular season is right here, and his playoffs are just out the window. So, like, I don't know if this guy just never plotted for his playoff victories or, like, managed defenses right. But that really hurts. He probably could have won a championship one year if his playoffs just turned a little bit better. But even Anthony had a decent playoff in comparison to his regular season. Not me, though. I dropped many, many times. But this was the standard league. That's a thing of the past. What does PPR look like instead? So here's the same grid plot, but for a PPR. And don't let this... It's already going to her head. I can tell. But in the regular season and overall, Amanda is the high scorer in a PPR league.
But you do look. I do have a nice little drop off in that PPR playoffs.
But her PPR playoffs
are 2 seasons
so
of PPR.
Bad. It's only 2 seasons, but it's 6 games. Technically for you, it's only 5 games because you got to buy this year. So, but I do include the buys in these statistics. So it is Amanda's full 6 games for the playoffs. I am counting that. And you did play all your players this year during your playoff. You didn't like bench all of them to like mess up my numbers, which was nice. But yeah, Amanda, you tend to fall off in the playoffs. But you won this year. If you look at some other people, Jenna once again dominates regular season, but she actually fell off a little bit going into playoffs in terms of rankings. Nick is actually a pretty big playoff threat. He comes up in the rankings from his regular season. Uncle Chris is great regular season, but he stunk in the playoffs the past 2 years. Look at this. He's all the way down here. Wow, funk. He's got to step it up in order to get that second championship if he ever wants it. And you know, who would have thought? Who would have thought in any league? My mom.
Anthony's really not far behind him.
Yeah, and if you say, oh well, you know, we got rid of Aunt Linda, Anthony, watch out, Anthony, watch out. Anthony is not playing well. So, ugh. Someone who was a surprise going into the playoffs, though, is take a look at Annie here. Annie, regular season, bottom of the pile. Look at her playoff run.
Yeah, she only had one season. Same with Julie. They're a little bit skewed
You're right.
because they only had one.
It's a little skewed. It's a little skewed, but still, that's showing that hey, look, she is putting up numbers in playoffs. She is not giving up the fight, and that's awesome. That's awesome to see.
As much as I don't like to admit this, in PPR, if you let Brandon in the playoffs, he's pretty dangerous.
I am a danger in the playoffs.
Thank you, Julie, for taking him out.
And thank you, Derek Carr, for messing up my week. And thank you, Dak Prescott, for destroying your ankle.
Are we getting to my favorite plots?
Almost. One last thing I'd just like to talk about here. He had such a great standard league, but Kamish, what happened? We switched league formats, and Gregory used to be like a top 3 contender. What is he doing? What is going on? He's a little bit better in the playoffs, but he's not even close.
No.
So if he was thinking this year, like, oh, like I can do it, like I beat Nick in week 1 by a like a missed catch, I can take on Uncle Chris. No, like he is just stumbling hard here. But hopefully he'll change that in the next upcoming season. We've got the same side-by-side PPR plot here, where playoffs are in red, regular season's in green, and our total average is in blue. Look at this. My mom's so bad in playoffs. Look at this. So is Anthony. Julie, once again, great in playoffs. I'm pretty good in playoffs. Amanda, that fall off is huge. You got to fix that. I don't know how you won. This is really sad.
Did Chris have a fall off? Yeah, he had a fall off.
Chris had a fall off too.
I played Chris in the finale.
Interestingly enough, though,
I was trying to redeem this fall off with an
amazing trade for McCaffrey.
It just didn't work out.
Just didn't work. Interesting though, in the PPR league, as much as he stepped down from standard, Gregory's actually very consistent in PPR. He's just every week putting up the same consistent values. And maybe these values aren't as high because he didn't have McCaffrey all year. Uncle Rob's not doing bad either. He could probably bring his totals up.
He won in standard.
No,
he won last year.
He won in a PPR. Yep. And that just shows he's very consistent. So if he had a good year and then this year had a bit of a fall off, he's just a very consistent player. So that's kind of cool to see about that. And these are some of Amanda's favorite plots now. What I did is I took a look at all the games, and I took a look at what are the top 50 scores of all time. So these scores might take place in the same game. Like if you got 200 points in a game and your opponent got 198, then you'd both show up. But what are the top 50 scores in our league? And if we do this for the standard first, there's clearly one winner. You know who it is.
It's Uncle Chris.
It's Uncle Chris.
Look at this.
Look at this guy.
This is standard.
This is the standard league.
He's got 10 wins in the top 50.
Well, 10 top 50 scores.
Yeah.
You could still technically lose, but 10, that's 20% of the top 50 scores of the standard league. That's insane.
And then the next tier would be me, Brandon, and Gregory in standard.
Yep. Gregory had a great standard run for those 6 years, did a great job. Amazing that he doesn't have a championship yet. Interestingly enough, despite Anthony doing so bad, he's got 4. He's got 4 top 50 wins or top 50 points in the standard league.
Well, don't forget, he had that one good year.
He did have a good first year. And it is something where, look, you might not ever pull a Chris and get a ton of them, but even if someone, you might think it is going to be a cakewalk win in that week, people can still pull points out of nowhere. Look at this. Even my mom made the list. But
I'll be at the bottom of the list. And Nick and Rob also.
Yeah.
Holding on the bottom.
But still, it's impressive to see nonetheless. In the PPR league, things shift a little bit. You can guess who is in the top here.
Look at me go!
Graph changes a little bit in terms of colors, but it's still alphabetical.
10 wins to me in the top scoring 50. Did I do that right?
Yeah, you did that right.
Jenna's also great.
Jenna's also great here. It is important to recognize that maybe these scores aren't as meaningful as the first 6 years because there's only 2 years of data to pull here. So, we haven't had as many games, but there's still a lot of games going on. But Amanda's a top player. Jenna's is a top player. Then kind of comes me. Somehow Gregory gets in here with some top games, but maybe he's got some really dud games as well. Same with Nick in this regard. But a lot of people, there's a large distribution here in terms of hey, a lot of people have got 2 or 3 games here. It's something to think about.
Was Linda out last year?
Linda
just didn't make the list.
She did not make the list. My mom
Never-
did not make the
Never
list
made a top.
in the PPR. Aunt Teresa and Uncle Steve
Got one.
got one,
You sat.
and
Or us at the way it's represented now.
us at. I don't know why it's lowercase. But interesting as well. Annie's not on this list. Annie doesn't have a top 50 win in the past 2 years. So, and yes, she's only in the league for 1 year. She's only got 11 games.
Hey, but Julie pulled out 3 in her single year.
But Julie got 3 in her first year, and that's so scary to think about for future years. I really don't want anybody to have to ship this trophy to Texas.
I think that Julie, Jenna, and I, and then if Annie makes the list, are showing that the ladies are really killing the PPR league.
They are killing the PPR league. Everybody, watch out. Like these are some dangers there. Now, if we did a top 50, it's only a good idea to do the bottom 50. Who are the 50 worst scorers in the league? And then we split this for standard and PPR.
Wow. Look at that. Linda, you've made it this list.
Oh, Mom, what happened? She's got 9 of the worst scores of all time. To reiterate, though, it's not the worst score of all time. Remember,
that was Brian.
That's Brian.
But he also was doing pretty good.
Oh, he's doing good at doing bad. Brian's got a lot of low scores here.
Same with Will.
William is just stinking it up. And somehow, even though Uncle Steve and Aunt Teresa did so well, and they were like a scary team, they've got a ton of dud scores. They were basically trying to hit home runs each week, and if they didn't, that was that.
Unsurprisingly, Anthony.
Yeah.
Clocking in pretty high. Not many low scores. Amanda, Chris, Gregory, and surprisingly Nick.
But there's one person who isn't even on this list.
Annie.
Well, Annie, obviously, she didn't play in the
standard
league. Oh, I picked Julia. No, it's Jenna. Jenna never put up a bottom 50 performance in the standard league. And yes, she wasn't there the first season or so, but she was there
She was there enough to
She
be
was there
on
from
this list.
season 2. She should be on this list somewhere. No way. Super dangerous to play her. She's not going to put up a bad score. You have to be on your game each and every week. She doesn't show up here. If we go into the PPR, where things are slightly different, different color scheme, we see once again Anthony stinking it up, okay? Never going to get a championship with those kind of scores. Uncle Rob stinking it up too in PPR, yet somehow he won the first PPR championship. Don't know how. Will
stinking
it up. And everybody else is kind of in the same kind of boat. We've all got 2 or 3 really bad losses in PPR. Annie made the list once this season. Even Jenna made the bottom 50 PPR list here. So just kind of an interesting thing to see here when we're looking at that. Someone who didn't make the bottom 50 PPR list?
Julie.
Julie doesn't have a bad loss this season. So while Jenna never had one in the standard league, Julie has yet to put up a really bad loss in the PPR league. And it shows based on the top 50 games, she's got 3 of the top ones and none of the bottom ones. She's really dangerous. She knocked me out of the playoffs. I think I should have tried to dodge her a little bit more and play against Gregory or Nick. But that's why I don't have a championship. And Amanda won it this year.
You have a championship.
Well, that's why I've got one in a standard league. I don't have my PPR championship yet.
Well, only me and Rob have the PPR one. Good company.
Yeah. So those are some of the stats that we've run so far.
Well, when he says we, he means him. He spent literal hours. I'm talking probably 3 full working days of this.
Yeah, that's why this is a few weeks late. I was kind of hand entering a bunch of stuff and then doing a bunch of math. But I'm not done yet. While there was a ton of data that we went through here.
He needs to officially find out that I am the best.
Oh, no. I need to still tabulate a win-loss column. And technically, it's a win-loss tie column in this league because, yes, we somehow have ties in this league. All through PPR and Standard League. And got to count all the buys that people have as well. So just stay tuned for more stats as I dive deeper into stuff. If you have something that you'd like me to look into in terms of stats, hey, how do I match up against this person? How does this person do in rainy weather? I don't know about the rainy weather thing. But,
Nemesis segment.
But I want to do a Nemesis segment. Who matches well against who? What are people's win-loss totals? And if you can think of anything else that'd be a cool thing for the family to see, let me know. Shoot the Vinnie Pie Quest League a email. And Yeah, we'll see you all next time.
And let us know whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea to make the loser pay for this shipment next time.
Adios, everybody. Take it easy.